Today on the Topping Show, Matt Walsh calls for the death penalty for a woman who distributed child abuse material. A park in New York goes viral for having a Muslim prayer being blown over the speakers. Florida to build what they are calling an Alligator Alcatraz to house 5,000 illegals. Democrats vote against deporting illegals who get caught drunk driving. Portable cars are disappearing as we see a 40% increase of price since 2019. And Walmart is recalling some of their electric blankets because, whoops, they might burst into flames. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see the founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, you see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free flamethrower with every IT purchase, with Picatinny rail adapter, so you can mount it to any standard AR-15, like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting a flamethrower. And lastly, trying to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part of the podcast, you have affordable cars disappearing, with prices going up 40% since 2019. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Anthony, who's a writer at motor1.com, in which he says, quote, "You're not going crazy. Affordable used cars are disappearing. Prices are up 40% compared to 2019. Here you can see the base model Honda Civic. With 4 doors. What happened to you, Honda? Used to be cooler. I don't know. I'm biased. I have the Gen 10 Honda Civic Si, which I love because it had a stick shift and a good old green paint job and 2 doors. The new Civic only comes with 4 doors, even the Si version is disappointing for gearheads like myself. Now, again, this is credit to Anthony Alons, who's a writer at motor1.com. And he says, quote, "If you're looking for a used car, you're likely to be struggling to find a good, affordable option. The average price for a 3-year-old used car model is up 40.9% compared to the market in 2019. And share of those values costs under $20,000 is quickly disappearing. Today, a 3-year-old used car costs on average $32,635, according to an IC car study. That's a sizable increase from, $23,159, which is the average price per year in 2019. 6 years ago, the sub-2000 market made up 49.3% of 3-year-old used car sales. Now, in 2025, only 11.5% of used cars sell for under $20,000, which, yeah, that's crazy. See the price table right there. Now, they say that, quote, "The pandemic is one major reason for these price increases, as well as that triggering the cascade of events and limited new car production and forced automakers to focus on going from a mass volume to more, smaller volume but higher profitable options. So that increased the price of all the new cars, which eventually became used cars." Now, they say that IC car executive and analyst Carl Bauer said that, quote, "The lack of new car production 5 years ago has created a pandemic hangover effect for today's used car market." He says that now many buyers cannot afford late model used cars and are looking for even older cars with more miles. In 2025, most 3-year-old used cars are priced $20,000 to $30,000 range, including popular models like the Honda Civic, Toyota Corolla, and Nissan Rogue. They're up 44.6%, 37.7%, and 34.7% respectively. The percent of used cars priced at $30,000 to $40,000 and $40,000 plus have also increased, leaving cost-conscientious buyers with fewer options and choices. What's the reason, again, for why we can't afford cheap Chinese EVs? They say that American consumers are clamoring for cheaper vehicles when they're the only getting more expensive. They say perhaps a new slate truck might be relief. I mean, he says, what's the reason we can't get Chinese EVs? Well, obviously, it's tariffs. Regulation is one of those things where you cannot compete against China because of the price point, because they're much more business friendly, much more regulations from, well, not just, building your factories, but the environmental and labor costs are infinitely cheaper in China. So that's one of the few instances where I can understand the logic, especially when it comes to a tariff on a product, because again, China would just destroy every competitor if there was no tariffs at all or no blocking of the sale of their vehicle in pretty much any country. Now, in terms of buying a used car, I always think that's one of the best cars are not investments. I hate when people use that word, because again, cars only go down in value with the exception of very rare exotic cars and very rare instances like pandemic when used cars did spike in cost. But yeah, another reason not addressed in this article would also be the increased cost, complexity, and makeup of these vehicles has become more and more computerized. There's even more sensors on them, more things that can go wrong. I mean, there's between 10 and 30,000 components in a vehicle these days. It's astronomical, and they're exceedingly complex. I always tell folks they want a used car that'll last them a lifetime. I kind of think that peak reliability was around 2000, maybe 2005. Get a nice Japanese car like a Toyota Camry or Toyota Corolla, maybe even a Honda Accord or a Honda Civic. I mean, those things are darn near bulletproof in reliability rating, and there's enough tech where you can get to work. You got the heated seats that some people like. You got some Bluetooth maybe, but there's not so much tech that becomes more unreliable and even more complex. Another issue with the used cars industry past couple decades would be the cash for clunkers program under when Obama was in office, which literally destroyed a huge segment of used vehicles when the government gave cash incentives to trade in your clunker, which they would actually fill. I forget the material they put into the engine, but would destroy the vehicle completely. That took out a lot of used parts and the used cars from that market as well. And it's unfortunate because, again, new cars are getting more expensive. The average price of the new car sold in 2024 was about $52,000. It's getting really rough. And also, I mean, if you search, you'll find a good deal. But yeah, it's definitely getting more difficult to find a good used car at a good price point. But I can't help but think, shoot, even if it's under 100,000 miles for a Honda is nothing. I always tell my friends, if you're in a pinch, you can still find a $5,000 or $10,000 used car. It's going to be more than 3 years old. But again, if you get the right make and model vehicle, get a good pre-purchase inspection by a trusted mechanic, there are still great deals out there. But it is rough that, again, right now, especially these newer vehicles, there's a huge spike in cost. I think over the past 6 to 10 years, the next 6 to 10 years, the price will go down as mass manufacturing has, once again come to the forefront in the automobile community. But let me know, is this going to stop you from getting a used car? I mean, I know certified pre-used is a sales tactic and a thing for a lot of companies, but I don't know. To me, I'd probably go for a 5 to 10-year-old used car. And I mean, I like the Dave Ramsey approach as well. Just buy cash now. You don't have to worry about those payments kneecapping every month. But let me know your philosophy when it comes to used cars, because as always, I'll be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the Cultural Prod podcast, we have Matt Walsh calling for the death penalty for a woman who is accused of distributing material of child's being abused. As I try awkwardly to keep the vernacular somewhat child appropriate, inherently because of the subject matter of this clip, I recommend you put the earmuffs on the kids if they're in the room or listening, so to say. Now, that being said, Matt Walsh is responding to Libs at TikTok. Now, Libs at TikTok originally posted on X saying, quote, Long Island child therapist Renee Hoberman pleads guilty to the distribution of videos of infants being taken advantage of in an adult way. Hoberman, wow, she admitted to using social media to upload, receive, and trade digital videos depicting minors, including several videos of infants being physically restrained. Physically restrained and abused by adult male as infants cried and screamed. She faces up to 20 years in prison. This is an evil monster, and she looks like it as well. Jesus. Ugh. Yeah, now Matt Walsh responded to this saying, quote, I want someone who is opposed to the death penalty to explain in clear terms why exactly we shouldn't drag this monstrous freak in the front of a firing squad. She admitted her guilt, so there's no concern about accidental executing an innocent person. So then why shouldn't we? Honestly curious to see someone make sense. Which, yeah, I am very much pro death penalty. In this case, I think the court should have, and again, some states, including, I believe, most recently, and by recent, I mean like past 6 months, states like Florida have given the option for judges to assign the death penalty for people who abuse children that way. Again, it's not required, but some states are, and more and more states are giving judges the option to pursue that. Now, again, a lot of these people are taking plea deals to plead down from these charges as well, which is the major incentive mechanism for the mass court system. You plead down, and also the risk is they're avoiding that risk of something worse being assigned to them as well. And this way, pretty well, I got 1.9, I was about to say 1.4, got 1.9 million views as well as 24,000 likes. Now, one of the top comments comes to us thanks to Sassafras84, says, quote, she deserves the death penalty, getting 72 likes, going up like a stock. Though, not financial advice. You also have Based Electrician says, quote, the face of evil comes in all different shapes and sizes. In this case, she is a very obese white gal with long hair, though interestingly enough, the hair is not short, it's not blue or pink. She has a nose ring, which I don't know why people keep doing that these days. That from the base electrician got 18 likes, including one for myself. 22 likes, jeez Louise. Well, I like CrowdStrike stock. Again, not financial advice. Stuart Patton says, quote, I'm not against the death penalty, but I think I can make some of kind of sense for not applying this situation. He goes, quote, all human life is inherently valuable. Every human being should be treated as an end unto itself and not an instrument to achieve another's end. Therefore, the death penalty should be reserved only for the most heinous of crimes. Well, no shit. I would argue this is one of them. Again, I'm rejecting my opinion right there. I'll continue his comment. And he says, quote, while the activity Holman engaged in is criminal, gross, and really terrible, it does not rise to the level of heinousness that we should reserve for the ultimate punishment. Getting 40 likes. And I guess I should also clarify what the judges are allowed to in states like Texas and Florida. Again, that applies to the people who are perpetrating the actual act. She is admitted to being guilty of distribution of the material, which I would argue that would still be a good application of the death penalty of the judges and the jury if they choose to assign it to her. Because again, she's providing an incentive mechanism for these things to continue and for these monsters to keep getting this material. Of course, I'm sure Democrats will say she's a hero because they turn the worst of society into martyrs. Now, Smith says, quote, I'll give you 2 reasons. Life in prison is a worse punishment and it's cheaper than the death penalty, getting 51 likes. That is the dumbest. Now, I should clarify. It's so weird. It makes sense, but like it blows my mind that it costs more for the death penalty than to pay for someone to live in prison for the rest of their life. Now, it's partially because the appeal process, I mean, you can get like 20 appeals. The process for appealing the death penalty, it takes decades. It's ridiculously burdensome. Now, Rooster, and I mean, that's interesting. An interesting debate. Is life in prison a worse punishment than the death penalty? In this case, I would say no, because she's a woman. Because again, men and women are different, and the prisons are very much different. I'm not saying it's a cakewalk to go to a female prison, but compared to a male prison, especially when you are the one being accused of hurting kids, that is a weird type of mob mentality, but a vigilante justice that many people hope for. I'm not saying, again, vigilantism is illegal, but if you have a man who hurts a child and he goes to a jail or prison, I get the two mixed up, apologies. Justice is done by the end of the day, because even the worst people in society, even though they know those monsters deserve death. The main instance is when the men go to prison for hurting children, while the judge doesn't give what many people would believe is the proper justice, the inmates do. How do I spell this out less eloquently? Inmates kill child abusers. Now, you also have Rooster1 saying, quote, is that what your Catholic fathers teach you? Is there such thing as justified murder? Interesting. When you skip the world's religions and when you skip the world's religions and go straight to Jesus and his word, you can find out you've been lied to your whole life. Getting 14 likes, which, yeah, there's a lot of diehard Christians and Catholics who are very much against the death penalty, which, again, I have family members on both ideologies in that regard, which, again, I'm not saying you should get the death penalty for stealing a sandwich, but again, for these types of heinous crimes, most evil thing, and she's adjacent to it. She's providing that incentive mechanism and distributing it. I mean, I would argue that the judges and juries should have the option to assign the death penalty to people who commit the crime that she admitted to. Now, Mr. Pitbull, who, again, I'm not sure is it the rapper? Does he have a disproportionate amount of time in his hands where he can tweet, maybe? Perhaps. I haven't heard of a song of his in a while. I believe he had a song about the hotel. He's very passionate. Perhaps he owns a chain of Super 8 hotels or motels, but I partially digress. He says this, and it's a picture of a child with a scar on her cheek, and it says, when a dog attacks and scars a child for life, it is put to sleep. Why don't we do the same thing to child abusers? Getting 326 likes. Now, again, thankfully, states like Texas, Florida, and I believe also recently Tennessee do have the option, and judges have been putting them to assigning the death penalty to those types of monsters. Now, again, the issue is they can appeal it for like 20 times or something like that. But it gets it going in the right direction, I believe, so to say. I don't know why. I don't think this is relevant, but this is one of the most popular comments, so I'll read it. Akusha Gropier claims says, quote, she's Jewish, by the way, getting 1.2 thousand likes. You also have Cleo Tolevsky, sorry, I believe, saying, quote, child therapist means she went to graduate school and studied in depth the child development, trauma, cure, memory formation, etc. in detail, took all the exams and passed them. She has a high resolution conception of just how awful her behavior was. Gained 527 likes. Skeletor says, quote, because we can't inflict the pain upon her that she spread upon others, and because we need to trust our prison ministries to reach the unreachable for Christ. Gained 187 likes, which, yeah, that is, I mean, I'm not just Catholicism, but many religions do have the base of forgiveness, or they have one of the basic foundations is, the belief of redemption and forgiveness, which to a certain extent I believe in. I mean, I know people who have done things like drugs and theft, and they become contributing members of society. I absolutely believe some people can be rehabilitated. Statistically speaking, the percentages are not high, but it is absolutely possible. I've seen some great turnaround and great success stories. Again, but for some heinous crimes that especially have such a high propensity of abuse to be repeated, oh yeah, I don't think these people are such a risk to society. We as a society, I believe, should not accept the risk factor of them being out and about and repeating these offenses. And again, she did something not as heinous, but I think because of the severity of what she's doing, I would still argue, let's have the judge be able to have the ability to assign her the death penalty. Now, Brotherhood says, quote, Western nations only developed a moral population by constantly culling their top 1% most evil year over year. We stopped doing that, and unsurprisingly, reversing those results. Gained 1.6 thousand likes. Steve-O says, quote, I had an argument once with someone against the death penalty. His argument was simply one innocent person killed is enough to stop it. My argument back was one innocent life being taken by an illegal should then stop illegal immigration. One boy winning against girls should stop transports. Getting 759, make it 761 likes. Heartland Grump says, quote, a firing squad would be a waste of ammunition. A long drop from a rope in public square would get an set example, and you can reuse the rope. Getting 223 likes. Although, is he just funded by Big Rope? Is he a Home Depot employee? I'm like trying to futile attempt to make this very dark segment of the show moderately less depressing. Peachy Keenan says, quote, wood chipper feet first, getting 277 likes. Which, what is this? Salty sauce. I forget what meme this is, but it's a soldier. I believe it's a soldier standing next to a tank. It's in black and white. It's a soldier standing next to a wood chipper in the lake. It says, oh, wood chipper of the lake, what is your wisdom? He says, PDFs are not people, getting 244 likes. We also have follower of the way say, quote, no, not by firing squad, by blunt force trauma starting at the feet. Yes, I volunteer as executioner, getting 191 likes. A lot more memes or memes, as I like to pronounce them memes, but most people call them memes. And a lot of people are depicting ancient medieval punishments and the vast wide array methodologies in which they used. So again, I mean, I guess she's facing 20 years in prison, but because of things like good behavior and some wardens and some release policies, I would guess if she's not violent in prison, maybe she gets out in 5 years or 10 years. I think that's way too soon. I think 20 years is way too light for this type of sentence. Because again, she's putting all this stuff out there, and it's the worst material on the planet. It'll be interesting to see. Because it's the distribution of the material, not the creation of the material. I don't know how many states will shift their policies so that you can legally assign them the death penalty and give judges and juries that option. I think if we push for it and promulgate our deals and maybe get on a ballot and go to Hobby Lobby, get some nice poster board, and peacefully let our opinions be known, I suspect places like Florida, Tennessee, and Texas may implement those types of rulings where judges can have that option. I mean, places like California and Minnesota, they would never. But I suspect it is possible in our lifetime where we have a shift in not just cultural belief, but also justice system policies, where this person, I would argue, would get a more appropriate sentencing. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting culture news, you have New York Park going viral for Muslim prayers on loudspeakers. Now, this is brought to us thanks to End Wokeness, in which he says, quote, Tehran, nope, Brooklyn, New York. And, well, I was going to say with the YouTube, they'll probably take out the music, but you might hear it on the Rumble or Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Spotify, as I call it, because it's funnier. Anywhere you can hear the Topping Show. See, Brooke, well, I don't know, it might be a community notes. It says Brooklyn, New York. I've yet to see Captain America or Spider-Man yet. Though there are men in disguises. Hey, fireworks at the church there? Or their prayer segment?
What the fuck is this?
I mean, I heard their culture is explosive. I didn't think it was, you got bowl machines. Look at that. I mean, they're already doing better advertisements than the Catholic Church. I mean, this got explosions and bubbles. Just saying. Christmas is biking away finally. A lot of gals doing her job. And yeah, that bike ride got 5.7 million views and 77,000 likes. Which, he said Tyrone, no, Brooklyn, New York. I was actually going to guess Minneapolis, Minnesota, with with Omar's community, representing Elon Omar. Elon, can't pronounce your name; it's weird. Although I don't have much ground to stand on, my name's Topping. But nevertheless, Gunther Eagleman's the first commenter coming in saying, "quote It's about to get worse." Gained 1.3 thousand likes. With again, Mr. Zohan is now the primary, or he's going to be leading the DNC. He's going to be the one that people vote for coming in November. With, again, he's on the Democratic ticket as mayoral candidate, with Democrats outnumbering Republicans 2-1 in New York. I can't help but think, yeah, guy has a high propensity of winning. Very concerning because he's a socialist who is promulgated many times. He wants to ban firearms as well. Now, the Gas Stove, our favorite contrarian account, says, quote, "So glad to see this. That's why New York City is one of the most diverse cities in the world. More immigration, please." Getting 172 likes, as well as 53 comments. And he said, Mavis says, "You must be a male. Females are in trouble," getting 16 likes. Which is kind of ironic the way women vote in terms of, they say they don't want to be oppressed. They want to be basically naked in public and have all their rights. But they're promulgating and importing people who have the antithesis of those belief systems. Kind of ironic. Now, Paul Zupa says, quote, "New York City is already conquered. Sad," getting 387 likes. Based Electrician says, quote, "Just when we thought we solved the issue of men wearing dresses." And I do forget the ceremonial, it's not technically, well, it looks like a dress, but I forget the ceremonial clothing that they wear in that religion. Gained 29 likes. Nico simply says, quote, "Another example of the diversity that makes America great. It's only going to get better." American flag and cool sunglasses guy emoji. Gained 1.4 thousand likes. Brave Little Taco, though it's actually not a picture of a taco, or an advertisement from Taco Bell, says, quote, "Put down your crack pipe and remove your rose-colored glasses and Google September 11th. Getting 59 likes, which I remember having a Tower 7, I forgot. That was the first time we had a $2 trillion deficit in the U.S., fiscally speaking. We were investigating that, and that building in which we were investigating just blew up. We were told it was hit by a plane. I'm sure it was. Nevertheless, next topic. Ellie E. Mann says, quote, "Notice how everyone is cool and just hanging around, minding their own business. If you see this and have a problem, you are the problem." Getting 4.2 thousand likes. And I think then wokeness is getting, as youth might say, ratioed. Now, again, it is interesting. I actually was surprised they say it's New York, because, I mean, most shitties, or shitties as I call them, or some people call them cities, they usually have a lot of trash, lawlessness, and, well, overall just hell. And again, if you look at all these folks are here, they've got it roped off, not roped off, it's got the fancy caution tape, which I guess is cheaper than roping off a section at the park. And again, there's no crazy violence. No one's beating each other up. Yeah. Now, I almost wonder if the video is doctored. There's no homeless people there. That's like half the population of New York, I thought. I think a lot of people are concerned because, again, a lot of the ideals of this religion are the antithesis of what the founding fathers wanted. You also have King of Poles saying, quote, "This is the Eid prayer. What else do you expect from these? What else do you expect to see besides Muslims? Is no different from visiting a church on Christmas or a synagogue during Yom Kippur. You'll most likely see Christians and Jews in even Muslim majority countries. Stop the cheap propaganda. At least put some effort into it and try something clever if you're going to brainwash your audience." Gained 2.7 thousand likes. They're not ratioed. Let's see. Linda Schwartzer says, quote, sorry, or responding to that, Linda Schwartzer says, quote, "Sorry we don't take over parks by the thousands and pray we use churches," getting 35 likes. The Edson Zero says, quote, "They're blasting their prayers outdoors, forcing everyone to listen," getting 246 likes. Rachel Rising says, quote, "I'm supportive of religion, but not invading our streets. The Constitution is the law of the land and not Sharia law with mega mosques. Take the prayers there," getting 281 likes. See here. Which again, I'm guessing they had a permit for the park. Depending on your city's policies, you can reserve parts of the park and times of the park for nearly any legal activity, which again, this is obviously a legal activity. Mirthful Moments also says America is not a Muslim nation, it's a Christian nation. Islam is not compatible with America's values. Gained 207 likes. And again, also the Catholic Church sucks at marketing. I haven't seen a single Facebook ad. I mention that term at least once a day on average. Mirthful Moments also has a picture of a gal in hijab, not hijab. I forget this. There's a difference in vernacular for the scarf. I'm obviously not good at fashion, though I do suit up every day. The same suit for 624 episodes. Perfection. Buy once, cry once. Now she says, or the Mame says, quote, "Hates Jews, Christians, atheists, gays, dogs, bacon, wine, beer, your civilization, your culture, your traditions, your country, and you. Complains about Islamophobia." Getting 874 likes. Agent X says, quote, "Imagine if there were 10,000 Catholics, 10,000 Catholics. Democrats would then claim it's a KKK rally," getting 1.5 thousand likes. Make America Great Again. Very specific profile name says, quote, "Democrats turned Brooklyn into a foreign outpost," getting 322 likes, which, again, for 100 years, the immigration, or rather the foreign-born rate of the population of New York and New York City, it's been about the same. It's fluctuated a couple percentage points. And I think the major differences we've seen throughout the past 100 years is the rate of assimilation or lack thereof. And it's not just with that religion. You also see other people coming from other countries and continuing to fly their flags, even though they escaped those countries. With more recently, a lot of people waving the Mexican flag, or Mexico's flag, and protesting the deportations. When, again, if you are flying the Mexican flag, you're very proud of the country, it's quite easy to go there. We'll actually pay you to do that, and yet they're complaining and crying while leaving America. You also have Just a Dude saying, quote, it's happening. There's a picture of a donkey, and then there's a picture of a camel. It says, "The transformation of the Democrat Party since 2009. And before Obama, as Trump would say, it's a picture of a donkey. And then after Obama is a camel. And it says, "Islamocrats," getting 439 likes, which you have definitely seen a shift in the Democrat Party in terms of the populace of it. I mean, I don't know a single true Catholic or Christian who would ever nowadays be affiliated with the modern Democrat Party. Again, the Democrat Party was very much different in the 90s era. And I mean, again, now they're one of the biggest issues politically and traditionally and culturally and spiritually is abortion. Where again, even in the 90s, Democrats were really, kind of queasy about it. I mean, famously, Bill Clinton said it should be safe, legal, and rare. That was kind of the standard. It was of the opinion that it was still morally not a good thing. And nowadays, Democrats brag about so much, they had an abortion mobile outside the DNC convention. It is a point of pride for them now, and they are actually videos of Democrats bragging about abortion. So a lot of my friends who are faith-based, who were former Democrats, they actually shifted to more Republican. And even a lot of people would argue a lot of modern Republicans are just 90s Democrats. But yeah, in terms of the consistency who makes up the Democrat Party, I believe that is a big shift in terms of the religious affiliation of that party past couple of years. That's definitely shifted around. You also have Betsy Ross saying, quote, "While New Yorkers absolutely deserve this country does not. Pray we can prevent New York City from becoming Archie West," getting 874 likes. I laughed at this new meme. This is credited to someone by the name of God and Country saying, quote, "New York has fallen." And it's the Statue of Liberty was covered up her face and is carrying the Quran, getting 297 likes. Scrolling down more and more. Blue Collar American. I didn't even know this is emoji, but it's the emoji of a detective. It says Muslims living in a Christian country, and it's, Muslims dressed up. And it has a juxtaposition of a picture, and it says Christians in a Muslim country, and they're being executed. Gained 395 likes. Ayolu, I believe I'm pronouncing that right, has a meme of a man with a noose. He is labeled liberals, and he is watering a tree named Islam, and the rope is attached to the tree. Gained 924 likes. Going down more and more, you have Captive Dreamers says, quote, this is what the Democrats want in every small town of America too. Gained 487 likes. Let's see. David Sullivan's back in the comments. I haven't seen him in a couple of weeks, actually. This is, again, David Sullivan. Pronouns. I'll actually respect his pronouns. His pronouns are prosecute Fauci, which he says, quote, New York is not safe for Americans. Maintain your Second Amendment and exercise your rights. And there's a picture of a gal. It said she has a t-shirt saying women for Trump, and she has a pistol in her jeans. It says, quote, gun facts they don't tell you about. 550 sexual abuses are prevented every day by showing a gun. 1,100 murders are prevented every day by showing a gun. Law-abiding citizens use guns over 2 million times a year to protect themselves. And that got 224 likes. Western Decline says, quote, is Iran the only reason why Western countries are being invaded? We need to prioritize younger generations to have children. Best way to do this is by lowering the cost of living. We shouldn't rely on legal or illegal immigration for economic growth, getting 140 likes. Wall Street Apes also says the hard solution is to literally just deport all of them. There really is no other alternative, getting 2.1 thousand likes. I'd say about maybe 50-50 split in terms of, for or against this post by End Wokeness. And I definitely think in terms of, the foundation of our country and our founding fathers, ideals, and our morals and values of a nation, I do believe we still are very much a Christian nation. I believe that's for the best. But that's just my 3 cents. It used to be 2 cents, but 40-year hyperinflation gotta be 3 cents. And as always, let me know your thoughts in the comments because I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part of the podcast, you have construction underway in Florida, and what they're calling it is Alligator Alcatraz to house illegals. Now, this is brought to us thanks to End Wokeness, and he says, quote, breaking, construction has begun in Florida for a facility surrounded by alligators to detain 5,000 illegals. It will be ready in 1 month, which, of course, this whole, of course, it's Florida. The Alligator Alcatraz. Now, this news segment video is credited to NBC News, which somehow still in business.
Starting next month, 5,000 migrants will be housed in trailers and heavy-duty tents at this remote, abandoned airfield.
As I call it, Alligator Alcatraz.
In a promotional video set to music, Florida's Attorney General lays out what he considers a deterrent for any potential escapees.
People get out, there's not much waiting for them other than alligators and pythons.
But some local officials warn the environmental impact could be devastating.
We have environmental and physical stewardship and safety concerns.
The Trump administration has said it wants to get up to 100,000 beds at detention centers across the country. Starting.
That is quite a bit. And that went pretty viral. I got 2.7 million views and 54,000 likes, which this is probably one of the most Florida things to ever happen. And of course, this is being assembled by Florida Man or Florida Men, which is a whole meme culture in and of itself. Now, one of the first comments comes to us thanks to our favorite contrarian, the gas stove, in which he says, quote, AOC will detain all Trump officials in that gulag when she becomes president. Getting 100 likes and 25 comments. First comment to the gas stove coming to us thanks to Breezy Rocks says, quote, you're such a retard, getting 24 likes. Which the gas stove grammatically incorrect him saying you're getting 4 likes. Which, again, the gas stove is a contrarian account by its very definition. Scrolling down, you have Mirthful Moments saying, quote, Trump just raised the bar. And here's a picture of Trump that says, raise the bar. You have, geez Louise. All the Democrats says, failed. Oh, I guess, pun of AOC working at the bar. So Kamala says, failed the bar. AOC worked at the bar. Nancy Pelosi lives at the bar. Biden can't spell the bar. Hillary Clinton behind bars and says, should be behind bars. Which, I should say, Hillary Clinton is a very beautiful, intelligent woman. Has not had a disproportionate amount of people around her. About 27 people have committed suicide. And I plan to live a long, healthy life. And I don't own any rope. Just coincidentally wanted to throw that out there. Now, that also got 318 likes. Dean says, quote, President Trump just gets shit done. Big thanks to Ron DeSantis and his team as well. In 321 likes, growing up like a stock. Ron DeSantis has some great things going. He also said that property taxes should be eliminated. If he does that, which I find property taxes mostly to be, theft for something you already bought. I mean, shoot, I just might have to move to Florida. Someone used Grok or AI. This is from Frustrated Patriot. Say, quote, gators in training. And someone put ice hats on alligators or crocodiles. I forget the difference. The guards are hungry for justice. That sounds like a Florida movie. One prison surrounded by alligators. They're not just hungry for food. They're hungry for justice. I don't know. Maybe it is a bad movie, but it'd be an interesting indie film probably. That got 414 likes. The conservative alternative also says, quote, I hear it's going to be called Guantanamo Bay. For those wondering, gave 374 likes. So, again, they're building facilities, but again, there's 20 million illegals here that have been let in. So I'm pretty pessimistic in terms of the percentages Trump will be able to successfully be able to deport. But let me know your thought. Again, it's only 5,000, which again, it's a rounding error. Again, these isn't going to house them permanently. It's going to be rotation, but let me know how much infrastructure will we need to build in order to facilitate these mass deportations. And of the 20 million illegals, how many do you think will realistically be deported in the next 3 years? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, you have Democrats voting against a bill to deport illegals who get caught drunk driving. Because, of course, they would never deport them ever. Now, this brought us thanks to Libs of TikTok, in which she says, quote, breaking, the House has passed a bill to deport illegal aliens who get caught drunk driving. 160 Democrats voted against it. Because, of course. Now, you have, of the breakdown of the votes, came in at, Republicans came in at 209 saying yay, with only 37 Democrats saying yay, for a total of 246. You also have, nays from Democrats, 160. None from independents. And you had 11 Republicans, no vote. Lazy bastards. You have one job, you work like a couple months a year, you can't vote on something, really? They had 15 Democrats that chose no vote, which again, it's one of the easiest jobs on the planet. You get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to work a little bit of the year. And then they no vote because they're either sick or they're cowardly. They want to vote on something that might be perceived controversial. Yeah, I'm not a fan of these no votes. Now, nevertheless, it's got about 250,000 views and 21,000 likes. One of the first comments comes to us thanks to Paul Zupa, who says, quote, unbelievable that anyone would vote against this. Glad it passed, getting 174 likes. Black Sheep American says, quote, why does this have to be a bill? They're here illegally to begin with, getting 337 likes. Good question, but we all know the law as it applies, especially in some leftist state. Homesteader says, quote, imagine voting against this. Democrats don't care about the safety of American citizens. Well, of course not. Well, they went from 74 to 106 likes in a second. You also have Marcus Barton saying, quote, why are we prioritizing deportations? Mass deportations means deport them all, getting 29 likes. Which, yeah, Trump did make a point of saying we're going to deport the most dangerous ones first. You also have, Master E saying, quote, get them out. It says terrorist sympathizers need to be removed from our government. It's the squad, all Democrats, of course, getting 12 likes. Arcalado saying, quote, well, Democrats are the party of death and destruction, so it would only make sense that they would want illegal drunk drivers on the road. Getting 35 likes, which, yeah, that's a weird hill to stand on. That's a weird thing to brag about, Democrats. I'm not sure why would you want them to stay here when they're drunk drivers. Going down more and more. You have Elizabeth Hilligan saying, quote, who would vote against this? Getting 109 likes. David Sullivan says every legal is a criminal. Deport every illegal. Getting 10 likes. Florida 1 says, quote, obviously Democrats care less about the law. They want illegal votes no matter what. Getting 42 likes. You also have Nathaniel Harris saying, quote, the surprising thing is that this wasn't already implemented. Getting 15 likes. Mike the Bar says, quote, looks like Trump is gaining some traction with Democrats. Got 37 of them to vote for it. I definitely would take these little wins as a sign of progress. Yeah, that's true. Got 12, so get 13 likes. And there are also some Democrats in purple districts or purple areas where, again, they have a fair amount of people who in their area are more right-leaning, as crazy as this sounds. This is a political issue, as Democrats want drunk driver illegals to stay here, with Republicans saying, no, we should deport them. Now, we'll see what percentage of the illegals that came here will actually be deported. Again, there's like 20 million. So Trump needs to definitely get going quick. But I'm not too surprised as how the Democrats voted. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Walmart recalling electric blankets because, whoops, they might burst into flames. Now, this is brought to us thanks to the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission, perhaps the only useful government website, granted, pretty low bar, in which they say, quote, Max Care, spelled K-A-R-E, electric blankets recalled due to burn and fire hazards, manufactured by Umo and sold exclusively at Walmart.com. Whoops. There's a picture of the electric blanket with some fancy remotes there. Wow, this is going to affect 8,560 units that are being recalled, which is quite a few to say the least. Oh, there we go. Maximize that picture for you. That's fancy. It's got 2 remotes. Now, they say that, quote, this recall involves MaxCare electric blankets with 6 heating levels and a 9-hour auto shut-off function. They're sold in 3 sizes, 62 by 84 inches, 72 by 84 inches, or twin, full, and queen size. Recall only include model numbers HB18A/72841, HB18A8490-2, and HB18A62841. The brand name, Max Care, and the model numbers are on the tag attached to the blanket. The blankets come in brown and gray and are machine washable. They say that consumers should immediately stop using the recalled blankets and contact Umo for instructions on how to properly dispose of the blankets. Consumers will be asked to upload a photo of the blanket to... That's a very, very expensive domain because it's so short. Also silly, it's umoofficial@126.com and confirm disposal in order to get a full refund. Now, whoopsies, looks like they did not get ahead of the situation when it comes to this specific recall, because they note that Umo has received 34 reports of overheating, including 3 reports of burn injuries and 2 reports of the blankets catching on fire. And again, this is bad for Walmart because no one on the planet is going to remember Umo. This is manufactured by well, it's actually a pretty short name for a Chinese company. It's Shenzhen Umo Commerce and Trading Corporation of China. I'm sorry, Trump would say China. I don't know. Is it just me when you see that word, you hear his voice? It's rememberable, but kind of annoying. But it's always there. But yeah, I gotta say, no one's gonna remember this. We're gonna remember. I bought this on Walmart.com, which again, Walmart is very much of the opinion that they want to compete with Amazon.com, become a big e-commerce platform, and grow that way. And they're putting a lot of resource allocation to their website. And when it comes to that website, the big thing is, do you trust the products? How seamless is the process to return a product that isn't up to snuff? So to say, spoiler, it's not great at Walmart.com. It's very rudimentary right now in comparison to Amazon.com when it comes to customer support and returns, as I found out the hard way. And to have a product that, again, is potentially, again, thankfully, no one got seriously injured from this. Again, it's a silver lining situation, but you have a recall of a product that seems to be half-assed assembled or manufactured, and they literally burst into flames. I gotta say, not only Umo, but Walmart, you are certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so you can click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.